I know we're only 3 games in, but we have a good sample size. And who would be Bama's MVP so far?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network. Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We'll talk about Game Time here in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, after 3 games, and since we have a bye week, let's go ahead and name us an MVP of since we're 1/4 the regular season done. I think there are certainly a couple of candidates. I can't think of like several. Ty Simpson might come to mind for some people. And I agree. And look, I want to clarify something. Yesterday, when we were talking about Ty Simpson, how well he was doing and all these, somebody mentioned in the comments, hey, you guys wanted him benched a couple of games ago. And they wasn't you guys. First of all I said was this team may need a spark. And the only way I think you could get a spark is by changing the quarterback and see what happens. Now, it worked out. It worked out fine because the team responded in a way differently than I thought they may respond. And the ULM game sort of changed my mind on that. Although I will say historically, I still think I'm correct about that you get sparks by changing quarterbacks. You don't get sparks by changing the right guard. And I also admittedly said several times, hey, Ty Simpson wasn't the problem against Florida State. Ty Simpson played fine. No turnovers, threw for over 200 yards, touchdown passes, did well. But the rest of the team wasn't so great, and that's what I was worried about. Like, are they responding to him? So that's what all that comes from. If you want to kill me for that comment, feel free. It's fine. I mean, that's why we have this channel. But I think some people could say Ty Simpson is the MVP to date. I'm trying to think of somebody defensively, and it is very difficult to come up with a defender that has played well all 3 games. The only answer to me, though, is Jeremy Bernard. That's the only answer. He played well at Florida State. He played well against ULM. He played well against Wisconsin. And when we needed him, when we needed a couple of yards, tough yards via the running game, we depended on who? A wide receiver that was sort of on a jet sweep kind of thing.
Yeah, if I had to pick an MVP for the offense, I would pick Jeremy Bernard. And it's because I think he might be the only player on the team, if not the only player on offense, that I think has significantly improved his stock in terms of like the NFL draft. I mean, that's how good Jeremy's been through 3 games. I think he's a stock up guy as far as the NFL is concerned. I'm going to go with Jeremy over Ty, though it's close. And the reason being, and Luke's already said this, and I agree, I would put Jeremy up there because he played great in all 3 games. And I think Ty played okay in the first game and great in the next 2. But Jerm's been great in all 3. So for that reason, I would say Jeremy Bernard at this point is the MVP of the offense. But Ryan is the most gifted player on the offense, and I think he showed that last week. He's coming on. Ty is clearly coming on. And another candidate on the offense, or perhaps the only other candidate on offense, would be Parker Brailsford. Cole Kubelik is great at evaluating offensive linemen. I trust his judgment almost completely and wholly. And, I think Cole Kubelik is close to saying Parker Brailsford's the best center in college football. Parker Brailsford even played great at Florida State. I should say Jeremy wasn't the only one. Parker Brailsford played great at Florida State. Even Ryan Grubb agreed that Parker Brailsford's game against Florida State may have been the best of his career. And he was going up against a highly thought of NFL defensive tackle down there against Florida State. So I think those are your 4 strong candidates. But on offense, I go with Jerm.
Yeah, I'm looking through some stats while you were talking. I just don't see how in the world is anybody but Jerm. And like you mentioned, the other thing that does stick out, NFL draft experts are taking notice. And again, I know it's at least one guy, and his name was Tubbs Tigers, so I think it was an Auburn fan, and that's fine. I appreciate your listening. Thank you, sir.
Sounds like an Auburn fan.
Yeah, it'd be weird if you were a Bammer. So anyway, the other thing that's kind of funny is, I have no problem taking my lumps. If you think that I truly wanted Ty Simpson benched and I said he was no good, that's not what I was saying. I was doing it for another reason. But it is funny that, so did you see Andy Staples? Somebody brought up his top 10 Heisman candidates preseason, and it was like Arch and Lagway.
For top 10, was it top 10 Heisman?
Maybe it was top 10 quarterbacks. I
think it was top 10 quarterbacks.
It was Arch and Lagway and Klubnik. And I mean, look, I loved Cade Klubnik too. I'd never bought into the Arch hype as much as he did, or you did. Let's be real.
Oh, I did. I did. And I still am, believe it or not, I'm not off the Arch bandwagon. I'm shocked that he's off to this kind of start. Shocked. Even, you know what also shocks me? Sark. I mean, gosh, I thought Sark could pick out a random guy at Walmart and turn him into an all SEC quarterback. I think super highly of Sark's ability to coach up the position. And I think the combination of Sark and Arch, I can't believe this isn't working yet, but I'm still going to say yet. I mean, I might just go down with the ship all the way to the bottom of the ocean. That may happen, but I'm still clinging on to the rails as it goes down.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this an Arch show, but it is funny because Arch probably would have been at Alabama had Sark stayed at Bama to be the offensive coordinator, and maybe ultimately be Saban's successor. I think Arch would be at Alabama because it sure feels like he was going to go wherever Sark was. Yeah. And can you imagine? I mean, it's bad enough at Texas, and Texas is one of the biggest brands out there. But Bama right now, because of the run they've been on and all that, it would probably be even a little worse for Arch right now. And the funny thing is, if Arch were just named Joe Smith, I'm not sure that he would be catching this much. I mean, people would be like, yeah, Texas may have a quarterback issue, but he's still learning, and they're taking their lumps from losing Quinn Ewers. And as it is, it's because it was Arch Manning and he had all these accolades coming in. I mean, it's just crazy how he starts out so high that he had nowhere to go but down. So just an interesting thing. Another thing that I wanted to point out about quarterbacks in the SEC, because, again, there was so much talk about Garrett Nussmeier, who I love. I still love Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's a really good player. For whatever reason, their offense is not clicking. They still got offensive dudes, but their offense is not clicking. There was Lenora Sellers talk, and of course that just hasn't materialized at all this year. So I'm looking at the leading passers in the SEC, and you could have made $1 gazillion on Prize Picks and FanDuel and everybody else, essentially ranking them via their yards. John Mateer is 1 at Oklahoma. Aguilar is 2 at Tennessee. Reed 3 at A&M. Number 4 is Taylon Green, who might have the best stats of them all when you combine rushing and passing. Yep. And then Ty Simpson, then Bo Pribula, then Blake Shapen, then Gunnar Stockton, then Garrett Nussmeier.
That's, on the one hand, it's stunning. But one thing that we said that proved true, while y'all are going to beat us up for some wrong things, whether it's, tied to the bench or how great Arch is, here's something we were right about. We bragged all summer how deep this league was in quarterbacks. I mean, the quarterback group, because there was a lot of talk all summer about how the Big 12 had a great group. The SEC had a great group, and it's funny to me how the guys that weren't as talked about this summer are near the top of the list that Luke just went over, while the Nussmeiers and the Arches and the Lagways have been disappointing. Even the Sellers to this point have been a little disappointing. It's the other guys that it just shows the incredible depth. One thing about Staples' list, I'll say I don't take shots over stuff like that because I realize how hard it is to do and to put yourself out there like that. Now I realize that's the job. I mean, that's the job, but it's easy to take shots at it after the fact. While very few people that are taking shots at it also put out their top 10, back in June. You put out yours, and it's just a lot easier to be critical than it is to say, hey, here's the top 10 that I did in June, and mine's better than Andy's. That'd be a great post. I'd like to look at that. But just the Andy sucks thing, I mean, gosh, it's kind of like, the Braves were the second, biggest pick, on FanDuel, second best odds to win the World Series, and they're finishing with a losing record. Are we going to go make fun of Vegas? I mean, let's go pile on Vegas.
Vegas is fine with that.
Couldn't have been more wrong.
Vegas is fine that you guys all got that wrong. Vegas is totally cool with that
I
idea.
made a lot of money. Yep.
Going to tell everybody about Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football being back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, yo. It's 2 to 6 player projections. And you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's so much fun. Yesterday was a ton of fun because there were 2 NFL games, and that made my Monday even that much better. But download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, like me and Jimmy, it's good to be right. All right, so Bama moves up in the AP rankings a pretty good bit, actually, like 5 spots. And the other thing is I think that they're going to move up probably even more after this weekend because there will be some more losses. And I'm here for it. It's sort of a maybe not the best way to keep this streak going, but you know how I am about these streaks where – Alabama is going to maintain being ranked. So barring a Georgia just blowout, I think Alabama will move up enough to where a loss to Georgia won't knock them out. And also, I guess I'm taking some heart in the fact that Notre Dame is still ranked despite being 0-2.
One question, and I don't mind Notre Dame being ranked, by the way. If Notre Dame had lost to Virginia Tech and UCLA and they were still in the rankings at 0-2, that would be one thing. I think so far – Notre Dame lost close games to 2 teams we know are really good. The only thing that I really know, the only thing I'll be emphatic about is if Notre Dame is ranked, they should be ranked behind Miami and behind Texas A&M. And if they are, then I don't have a problem with it because they haven't proven anything other than they're not quite as good as top 10 Miami and probable top 10 Texas A&M. So I don't have a real problem with that. I think you might watch Notre Dame play know that they're good. They're probably one of the 25 best teams. As far as Alabama goes, I get that some would say they're ranked too high because who have they beat? I get that. I think that's fair. But again, right now, the Alabama loss is to a top 10 team. And the way I look at it is, my feelings on rankings have changed over the years as I've thought things through and heard different, takes on it, Luke. I'm kind of this way now about the rankings. And by the way, I'm a fan of rankings. I don't want them to go anywhere. I think they're fun discussion and there's still a place for these AP rankings in college football. But my thing is, if you're ranked, I don't care who you are, if you're ranked 12th and you play the number 6 team and you lose, why do you drop? Why do you drop at all? You lost to someone ahead of you. How does losing to the number 6 team mean you're not good enough to be number 12? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm fine. I mean, there are some folks who don't want Notre Dame ranked because they're 0-2. And they don't even care about the argument like, if Notre Dame had played Indiana's schedule, Notre Dame might be number 1. That is also flawed. That is certainly flawed in its own right. But I think, honestly, I would have Notre Dame in my top 20, definitely in my top 25. They're at number 24 in the AP poll. I saw somebody go on a rant on Twitter that an Auburn friend of mine retweeted that saying that there's no way Alabama should be, jump up. I think they jumped up 5 spots after this last win. That's just, their brand moving them, et cetera, et cetera. My first thought is, yeah, that is kind of their brand moving them. That is true. And they earned that. They earned that right, if you ask me. Now, some people will say, well, each season is its own living, breathing thing. But I think that when you play two Power 4 opponents, especially when one of them is in the top 7 now, I think you get a little extra credit. And then when you play essentially a flawless game against a team you should destroy, which they did against ULM, I think you should get a little extra credit. So I have no problem with Alabama's being at 14. I probably wouldn't put them any higher than that. Although I'll say this, there are a lot of teams ahead of Alabama I think they could beat. In fact, I think they could beat everybody, but I'm saying probably beat, like Illinois, for example. I think Alabama would beat Illinois. I think Alabama would beat.
They would win more than 5 times. Yes,
I think Alabama would beat Texas A&M. Again, some people may disagree, and I get it, but Alabama's had a pretty good record against Texas A&M. So, the rankings, it's all subjective, 100%. But I'm not one of these guys that just throws everything out, because I think that Notre Dame should be ranked. I mean, I know they're 0-2, but you do have to take into consideration who they've lost. They've lost to 2 top 10. A&M's in the top 10 now. They've lost to 2 top 10 teams in very close fashion.
Game. I think by a total of 4 points. You can't be hypocritical. You can't look at the playoff committee's discussions in November and complain that Indiana and SMU got in. Yeah. And now a few months later, not take into account who Notre Dame's 0-2 is against. You're either one of these guys like myself who's adamant about it's about who you beat and who you lose to, or you're just looking at the record. And for all the people that are just looking at the record and saying, hey, they're 0-2, they shouldn't be ranked, then I guess you're saying that Indiana and SMU should have been in the playoff last year. Didn't matter who they beat, because all you're looking at is the one-loss record. I think it should be deeper than that. Who did you lose to? I don't think Notre Dame has disqualified themselves from being in the top 25 because they lost to 2 top 10 football teams in really close games. I would argue that Alabama beating Monroe and Wisconsin is not enough to justify moving them up because it's about who you beat. Now, Alabama beat both impressively, and I do believe that's a factor. It's different than beating them 24-20, but I'm big into who you beat and who you lost to in that sense. I think Vanderbilt should be much higher than they are, for instance, and another team that I think is underranked for sure.
Well, let me piggyback off that. A couple of things. So while we're sitting here defending Notre Dame's being in at 0-2, I would say going forward, given Notre Dame's schedule, which is not very difficult, I would say I'm going to have a hard time moving them up a lot, even if they were to go undefeated, because the 2 best teams on their schedule, it certainly looks like they've already played them both and they've already lost both. I'm not going to throw them overboard for that, but that does put them behind the 8 ball.
Conversely, it will be about who they beat. It will be about who they beat to get in the playoff 10-2. It's who did you beat? Now,
and how they lost. You think about how they lost that Texas A&M game, because former Alabama quarterback and current Notre Dame lacrosse player botched a extra point hold. That should count for something. That has to count for something. I mean, it's not. Notre Dame didn't get waxed by Texas A&M. They lost by just a hair. But meanwhile, you look at Alabama's schedule going forward. It's like this just long list of ranked teams outside of South Carolina who just dropped out because Lenora Sellers got hurt, and Eastern Illinois, who's Eastern Illinois. So everybody else is ranked. Now, they may not be ranked by the time they get to Bama, but Georgia's going to be ranked way up there. Vandy's going to be ranked, or at least fingers crossed for Vandy, because they play 2 soup cans coming up. My guess is Missouri's going to continue to be ranked because they don't have a very arduous.
Good chance. Vanderbilt and Missouri both highly likely to be unbeaten going into the Alabama game.
100%. And so that would mean Alabama plays 3 straight unbeaten teams starting in week 5. That is, nobody else is going to be doing that. I don't think. I mean, I hadn't looked at everybody's schedule, but I don't think anybody else is going to be doing that. So, but what I'm saying is, that's why if it comes down to it and Notre Dame is 9-3 and Alabama is 9-3, you go, well, we got to give the nod to Alabama because their schedule was tougher. Look at who they lost to. Yes, I mean, there's nuance in here, and I'm broad brushing it. But assuming that the games go about the way they should, I would certainly give Alabama the benefit of the doubt because their schedule was more difficult. And that is not debatable. That is not even, there's not even the most ardent Notre Dame fan can't argue that their schedule is as good as Alabama's.
No, and the numbers will speak for themselves. People keep data-driven analytic numbers on that. They'll speak for themselves by the time the season is over. And as me and Luke did our prediction show yesterday, loosely predicted the rest of the season. I'm adamant about this. We'll have to see how the season plays out for everyone. But Alabama at 9-3 will have an excellent case. Now it depends on, hey, if there's a whole bunch of 11-1 teams that play good schedules, they're in, sure. But I don't think in this year of parity we're going to see a lot of that. I'm telling Alabama fans that think that third loss is a death knell. Not this year. Not this year. I think 9-3 could get in. Now don't test it at 8-4, but 9-3 could get you in this year, depending on everyone else.
Let's talk a little game time because it's the best. You know, I love it. You know, I love saying it. That's what I love about game time. It's fantastic. College football is here, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, all that junk. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees, of course. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as 25 smacks. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today. Jimmy Stein guarantee. So some recruiting stuff. First of all, I'll knock out a few basketball things. We talked about the Ratliff twins coming in, sons of Theo Ratliff, who is an Alabama native. There's also another player coming in this coming weekend, and he's changed like a lot of his plans to be in. And I've got to find his name real quick. It's God dang it, where is it, Jimmy? Do you remember?
Off the top of my head, no. It was a brand new name for me. His last name starts with a C. And
it's double C's. Well, I thought I had it pulled up, and I don't.
Yeah, that was a brand new name.
Cole Clower.
That's the dude.
Yeah, and he's a top 30 dude.
Yep.
He plays at IMG Academy. Good player. I mean, I don't know what has gotten into Nate Oates and Preston Murphy. These dudes are on fire. Now, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. We get Caleb Holt.
Wow.
We get Caleb Holt.
Wow, that's loud. That's a loud prediction.
That's a guesstimate, but it's based on some fodder.
You add Caleb Holt to what they've already got, and just those three might be the best recruiting class Alabama's ever signed. The two kids already committed.
100%.
Caleb Holt might be, or certainly up there. I mean, that's just crazy. And now you add Ratliff. Now there's another top 30 kid. We can't even keep up with the names. Alabama's recruiting. I mean, this is the golden age of it, people. People that are into recruiting and into college basketball just understand this is as good as it's ever been, and probably as good as it will ever get, where you're living in a reality that Alabama is recruiting every bit as well as Kentucky, as Duke, as North Carolina. I mean, it's crazy, but that's what happens when you have back-to-back Elite Eights and are consistently putting players in the NBA like Alabama is. And I guess that's, hey, Saban built it the same way, right? Kids that wanted to play in the NFL wanted to play for Nick Saban. I think Oates has the same thing going on at Alabama. Kids that see themselves as NBA players, they're going to give Alabama a long look. They think this program really prepares them for that. And because it's not about buying them. Sure, Alabama's extremely competitive when it comes to rev share and NIL, but similar to our peers or even less than. It's not just buying them. Make no mistake, there are checks with zeros, but it's not buying them away from North Carolina or Kentucky. That's silly. It's just out recruiting them and selling them on we're the program that prepares you for the next level.
Let me give you a couple other notes that I was told, and I want to appreciate my source here who listens to the program. And just a couple of things. The offense this year should be a little easier for the guys to learn and go full speed. I think that's a big time positive. I know the staff is incredibly high on Taylor Bowen, who thinks he's an NBA. The staff thinks he's an NBA player when he plays like it. Now you say, what kind of statement is that? He's got the lights got to be on full time.
Yeah.
And that's something. Davian Hannah, who's coming in this year, great defensive player, maybe not quite as skilled offensively. Amari Allen, this is a guy that I've been super high on. I mean, I love Amari Allen coming in. He's going to be a dude, and the staff loves him. His ranking was low compared to what he's going to contribute this year. So those are just a few things. Man, I'm so excited about basketball, and I hope y'all are too. But now we'll jump back into football because we did have the Sabb brothers in this weekend, Amari and Xavier. Amari is a 2027 guy. He's a 3-star. And then Xavier is the number 1 athlete for 2027. Of course, Keon Sabb, their brother.
Amari's 27. Amari's 26. Xavier's 27, right?
Did I just screw that up?
Well, you said both of them were 27. But
yeah, Amari is 26. I'm sorry. I thought I said
Xavier's 27. And
yeah, Amari's this year. Yeah.
Yeah, Xavier's the one that's more highly recruited, highly ranked.
And Xavier is the 5-star. He's the number 1 athlete in the 2027 class. So, having Keon on the team is certainly helping. It feels like Alabama's in the driver's seat for both. It doesn't necessarily mean that they get them. It just feels like Alabama's in a great position here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you got to take Amari to get Xavier is probably a fair assumption, but that's okay. I think Amari's pretty good. I mean, I watch the tape of all of them. I sort of like Amari, too. I certainly as a take. I get why Xavier is more highly regarded and highly ranked, but I think you take both, and obviously, there's a big rev share deal for 5-stars. It won't be the easiest kids to sign, even though the oldest brother's on campus. But I think them coming here frequently, I like the fact that their older brothers had a good look at 2 programs, and they can kind of compare and contrast. And he can better explain why, if he feels this way, and I would guess he does, this is why I like playing here as opposed to there. Hey, I won a national championship there. We haven't won one here, but I like it, and this is why. So I think Alabama's got a great shot at the Sabb kids. I kind of look at them as a package deal. I don't think that's a term they use, nor is that something that they're telling everyone. But I think it just makes some level of sense that they would like to go to the same place. So the parents don't have to be in 2 places at once. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to do. When you got one kid at one school and the other, one kid at Florida and one kid at Arizona, I can make some difficult situations. So I like Alabama's chances there a lot, but it is not a lock situation. There hardly ever is one, but this isn't one. Hey, you're on mute. If you're talking about a 4th Sabb, you're probably talking about a 4th Sabb.
Yeah, the Sabbs are trying to catch the Robinsons. So I wanted to bring up one more thing. Yesterday, Rivals, and I want to pull up their Rivals rankings. They updated their rankings. And I'm going to tell you, this is why I almost wish they hadn't merged with On3, because I feel like they've tainted On3 now. Let me just go on a rant here. Rivals, for some unknown, ungodly reason, has Cederian Morgan, the 52nd ranked player in the country. Let me just tell you guys a little something. Cederian Morgan lives in Alexander City, Alabama, plays for BRHS. That's my hometown. That kid is special. Yeah. That kid is 5-star all day, every day. I would have said this. I would have hated it if he had gone to Auburn. I would have hated it, but I thought it before he ever committed. And for a while there, Auburn people thought they were going to get him, and I was thinking to myself, I really hate that because I think he's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling y'all, Rivals having him at 52 almost discredits the whole list. The whole list. I don't know if I can believe anything they say.
I would compare CD Morgan to Julio Jones with a straight face. I mean, as a high school prospect, they're the identical size, and I as prospects, I don't get that at all. To me, CD Morgan is a guy that should be in the top 10, and I would be a little disappointed if he was between 20 and 25, to be honest. Although maybe that's where he should be, but I would still disappoint me. I would think he's a little better than that. But 52 is an outrage. I couldn't agree more. Again, I think the kid is sort of like Julio. Now, I will say this. They do have access to some information that we don't have. I'm wondering out loud, do they have some verified 40 time that's keeping him out of that? I mean, that would at least get my attention. But I doubt it exists because I don't think the kid is a 4.7 kid at all. I don't think so. But if they had a verified 40 time that was bad or average, I would get it if that's the case. But I don't know that's the case. And I doubt that's the case. But I'm just grasping for straws to explain this.
If we had time, and if I still had the video pulled up, which I don't think I do, let me make sure I don't. So I used to have a video on here because when BRHS played Opelika earlier this year, and BRHS ended up losing a very close game to a 7A team. Opelika is very good. BRHS is a 6A team. By the way, they're in the top 10 now. But he caught a little short pass over the middle. I mean, like just a quick little thing over the middle on a long third down play. And he takes it to the house against a 7A squad where he had to maneuver through several people. And I will try and find the video and play it again because I played it on this podcast when it happened. I don't care anymore if you say he runs a 4.7. See, because what I saw was nobody on a 7A team that's good, that's played for state championships and things, nobody on that 7A team could catch him. And in fact, he outran them.
That's why I find it hard to believe that could be the case. I'm just like, as a rankings guy, I'm like, how can you justify this? That's about the only thing I can come up with, because you can't watch the highlight tape or the production or his offers or his size, or the fact that as a prospect, he's 6'4", 220. And as a prospect, Julio Jones is 6'4", 220. And they're from sort of the same area, sort of. And I am playing big time high school football. It's not a 1A kid. I don't get it at all. Unless they've got that, but it's so hard to fathom because I watched the tape and I'm not ready to join a circus because of how good I am at this. I'm pretty good at guessing. I watch him run and go, probably right now as a high school guy, I would go, I don't know, maybe 4.51, 4.52. And I'm saying that because he's 220 pounds, and in college, as he sheds a little weight and then adds some good weight back, he's probably going to be in the high 4.4s. You know who did that? Julio ended his Alabama career at 4.49. I think that's right about where you'll see
Rivals. That's me doing the old school, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means.
SEC Shorts this week took the On 3 rankings guy and stuffed him in a locker. If you hadn't seen it, so go watch
they should have.
Go watch it.
That was
very funny, and it wasn't on this topic, but it was on a similar topic.
Man,
and
those
they really
guys don't miss.
Rankings guy and just stuffed him in there.
They don't miss, Jimmy. Like, I would love to be a part of that at some point because there are times when I go, man, I think if you didn't it, but they don't miss. They don't miss. They are so good at what they do.
It's a whole nother show, and I shouldn't get started on, but one thing that does kind of gripe me is when someone says, can you believe that kid is ranked 110th? He should at least be 90th, and they're mad about where someone's ranked like around 110. My first question for every one of them is, did you watch tape of the other 109? Did you sit there and watch the 109 huddles of the other guys? No one does that. I'm not saying that I do that. I watch a lot of huddle. I watch a lot of these prospects and have for decades, which gives me like, hey, when I watch a kid, I have a pretty good idea where he should be ranked just based on the fact I've been looking at it for 30 years. But no, a lot of people get so adamant about, but have you seen the other kids? What I'm telling you is, yeah, I have seen a lot of kids ahead of CD Morgan. CD should be ahead of them. And I have seen a lot of them. And CD should be, I'm not so sure CD shouldn't be number one in Alabama's group. and he's not the highest ranked guy in the Alabama group.
Well, here's the thing. I think you're picking nits when you say he should be 110 or 100. When you're saying here's this wide receiver that most everybody has a 5-star and you have him 52, as my friend told me one time, if you have 2 o'clock and everybody else in the room has 2:30, it's your watch that's screwed up. It's your watch that's screwed up, Rivals. So anyway, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.